Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us one more time at Live with Intelligems, a show where we go live every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to talk about the latest in e-commerce, Shopify, and experimentation, and everything in between. For disclaimer, Adam, I don't have my regular screen and regular setup today, so I'm just juggling between tabs. And for everyone watching, but yeah, I'm super excited because this week we were, I'm still at, in we were at Toronto, Canada for Shopify's .dev conference or like summit. There was more going on in town for sure. And we were here with many of our folks from the engineering team, including Adam, our co-founder and CTO.
What's
So
up, Carlos?
Adam, super excited to have you on the show. You're a regular on Intelligems.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Now I'm excited to have you here. You're
Dude, I
back
love
home. How was
I'm,
your
I'm, I'm, yeah, I'm back in Denver. Was in Toronto for the last couple of days for this conference. Trip back home was a little rocky. There was some flight delays, I guess, weather in Denver, but I made it. I slept in my bed last night. Had a great time in Toronto, and yeah, excited to sort of like break down and recap what we learned in Toronto this week.
you missed the block party though? That was a
I
big.
know. Oh, dude, how that was actually. I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, yeah, home for my family block party. And like she was like, well, how important is the block party for, Intelligems? And I was like, I guess I could miss the block party. But how was the block party?
It was great. So actually, like the full context of that was new information to me is that DotDev happens alongside Shopify Summit, like
Yeah.
their own conference for their own team, which like huge and probably like 4x more people than the partners that make it to .dev.
Yeah.
So it's like overlapping during the full week, but I think the block party is the moment where it overlaps more aggressively because
Yeah.
partners were outnumbered by Shopify folks like by far. But that was a very fun interaction.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it similarly in previous years, and every year it kind of changes a little bit. This is the third time I think they've done this like sort of tech partners conference. But yeah, they obviously Toronto is the headquarters for Shopify. They bring everyone, not maybe everyone, but I think this year they had 7,000 different Shopify people and employees coming in for their summit, which was the like internal Shopify offsite conference, if you will, which is massive. 7,000 people is crazy. And then they had the partner event, which was .dev. That's where we were at, and they're like right next to each other. They're like at the same time, right next to each other. And what's funny is that the Shopify folks kind of like bounce back and forth between like internal meetings and things that are going on their side, and then our side of the block, and then it all kind of culminates with this big party. And in the past, one year it was at the Shopify headquarters, and they like basically like took their headquarters, made it one big like multi-story party like club, and that was super fun. But yeah, I heard that the block party was supposed to be epic this year. So were there like what were some highlights from the block party?
It was. So I thought there was just only one stage, but like the stage was only like one track. It was
Mm,
like a full street uh, with like different kind of like activities and activations, a lot of like swag and merch, a lot of like food trucks. It was very entertaining. So that was like easily like 1 mile of like just stuff
wow.
to do. So
Wow.
I don't know. This is my first time in Toronto. I don't know if the traffic is always this crazy within the midst of like baseball games and concerts and everything. So I don't know if it's always that bad, but we made it kind of late, like 6 or 7 p.m. It would start at 5, and yeah, it was very, very, very entertaining. So that was a highlight. Uh,
Cool.
I wanted to
Well,
ask you.
I missed the highlight.
I mean,
It's
you
okay.
were
Next
on the
year.
important talks, I guess. You were here for the
Yeah,
important
yeah.
stuff. Adam, why it's so important for Shopify partners to be at this gathering? Like, I think, and I think making it more general, what is like to build with such a strong partner and like on top of what they kind of like dictate in a way?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, and the reason I've gone year after year, obviously, like Intelligems is built on Shopify for Shopify. 100% of our customers today are Shopify merchants, and so many of the features that we enable, like checkout experiences, post-purchase upsells, all of the sort of discounting and shipping and price experimentation is only possible from the APIs and capabilities that Shopify enables for us. And so we're obviously incredibly reliant on Shopify as a platform. And so this is just a great opportunity to meet the product managers, meet the engineers who are building the features that I'm so reliant on. And then I can provide my input and feedback to them. They can help me understand what's upcoming. We travel with a team of engineers and product managers from Intelligems to go chat with the engineers and product managers from Shopify, build relationships so that way we can like email them over the course of the year as like different announcements are being made or different questions come up from our merchants. So that way we can better support the Intelligems customer base. So it's super important. And one of the funny things that like a realization that I came to with some of the folks there. So one of the things that was a big talking point this year was UCP, which is the Universal Commerce Protocol, which is how AI agents can discover products and buy products all through sort of like this AI protocol. So an MCP for shopping, and it's called UCP. And the people I was talking to who are working on and promoting the UCP at Shopify were all sort of like, oh, like, we need to get OpenAI on board for this. We need to get OpenAI on board for that. And it's so annoying how reliant we are. And they're the big, gorilla or elephant in the room. And if we can't convince them to do something, then we're kind of like, that's the big challenge. And so it's really funny that it was like, all of what you're describing is how I feel about Shopify, because they felt like, OpenAI is this big behemoth and they need to figure out, they're like, oh, then OpenAI goes and has this other sort of like strategic thing and they don't care about UCP as much right now or whatever. And so they were like lamenting about the relationship they have with OpenAI, as if OpenAI is this big behemoth and Shopify is this little sort of like, wannabe player in the space. And they're constantly trying to vie for OpenAI's attention and commitment to the advancement of UCP. And then I'm like, well, that's how I feel all the time about Shopify. It's like, how do you guys get Intelligems features prioritized? So it was kind of a funny, like no matter how big you get, there's always someone bigger, I guess, unless you're OpenAI. So that was like kind of a funny, walking a mile in another man's shoes kind of situation.
Right. And I think, I think I get the frustration in that sense, but also there are many pros on building on top of a platform in terms of like that vertical integration that you get to achieve so deeply. What is like to be in the forefront of where they are headed? Because like you don't want to be playing catch up,
Yeah.
You want to.
I mean, and that's and that's why we go. And you've used other products before you joined Intelligems. I know you like have touched a lot of different tools, experimentation, personalization, on-site stuff. I think that like what gives Intelligems an edge is just our ability to connect with all of these Shopify features natively. So how we get data from Shopify, how we're able to get really like all the webhooks and web pixels that we get, all of the ways that we're able to power different types of really interesting discounts and shipping rates is all because we are so immersed in the Shopify capabilities. It's really important. It's like part of what makes Intelligems built for Shopify and really great relative to some of the other, A/B testing tools out there that have been around for maybe longer than we have. And so it's important. And I think that this is the opportunity for us to understand what's coming down Shopify's roadmap, know what they're building towards, so we can then anticipate that, make sure we're ready for it. So as soon as Shopify is ready, we can rock and roll. So that's a big part of why we go.
Yeah, one thing that surprised me, and I mentioned to a couple of the members, is how like goal oriented the engineering team was. and on like talking to very specific engineers from the Shopify team and attending very specific sessions. Is like
Oh
these are
yeah,
like
there's
being one
a
step ahead of what's about to happen.
yeah. I mean, we right before the conference started, I sat down with folks on our team, Hannah, Christian, Carolyn. We all sat down. And we're looking at the calendar because at any given time, there's like 6 or 8 different workshops and talks happening at a time. And so we're all sort of like strategizing who's going to go to the talk on the new liquid changes, who's going to go to the talk on the new collection API changes, who's going to go to the talk on event webhook subscriptions. And so we want to make sure that like we're able to get all of the information that's relevant for us, the people on the team that are excited about those new features and development. So there was a lot of strategy into who went to what conference, which talks and which workshops. I had a list. I sent this in Slack. I was like, here are all the people that I want to find while we're here. And I not every single one of them,
Oh,
but
they
the ones
come
that were like my
cowboy.
tier one. Yeah. All the tier one ones that I wanted, I was like, I need to talk to like there were 4 or 5 people that I like had to find. And I got a little stalkerish, I would get like, I was like, is that guy? And I was like, had the picture and I was like, I can't tell. And so I'd like wait until they turned around. I could see the name tag. So I was getting a little, I felt like I was like on a deer hunt or something, looking for some of the people.
You definitely found the ecom cowboy.
I found the ecom. Well, the ecom cowboy. So Chris Hall, if any of you guys watch the e-commerce cowboy, these guys are awesome. Like they're super fun. They hosted a live webinar. They had Harley, among many others on, but I saw early in the day, Chris was walking around. I mean, the guy is 6'5", 6'4", super tall, wears a cowboy hat and boots. Like you could see him from literally, this conference was huge. You can see him from anywhere. So I saw him really early and I've been on his show. So went and said hi, got to meet him face to face, and excited to maybe be on his show again in the next couple of weeks. So if you guys watch Ecom Cowboy, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, shout out to them. One very interesting aspect about this conference is that like it's a lot about just the community and getting to see people like from partners invested into the ecosystem. This is just the place to hang out, and they are frequent visitors. They're here every year, and aside from the fact that it's a very heavily technical and engineering focused conference, it's just like the place to hang out if you're part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people were there. And it's amazing how many people weren't. I have people that I obviously have relationships with in the tech and agency partner ecosystem. And I was, hey, are you here? Are you here? And a lot of people weren't, for different reasons. I'm on vacation or had a big customer offsite or whatever. So there's different, totally legitimate reasons why people weren't there. And yet there were still thousands of people. It was crazy. So there's a lot of the community is huge, and it's really fun to be a big part of that community.
Totally. And third year, but you're also being like very much invested into the Shopify ecosystem for easily 5 years or more.
Yeah.
What was different this time? What stood out? What like innovating or frustrating, or like what's kind of like your take on this year's edition?
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of have a bit of a hot take here. I think that I was kind of disappointed this year, honestly. So this was the 3rd year that they hosted this event. In the past was, I think, Editions or Editions.dev, and this year was just .dev. And in the first year they did it 2 years ago, it was all around checkout extensibility, the removal of checkout.liquid and moving to Shopify functions and checkout UI extensions. They just acquired the Checkout Blocks app, and so Gil was there, and that was like the theme. They had this like really, everything was centered around making the best checkout in the world. That was like the marquee theme. And maybe this is just product marketing gone wrong. Last year, and when I say product marketing gone wrong, I mean this year. Because last year then, I felt like everything was about AI. AI this, AI that, Sidekick, SimGym, all of these different really cool AI innovations, how they're bringing AI, creating value for merchants, making their platform easier to use for merchants. And then this year, I didn't really feel like there was any marquee announcement. I didn't feel like there was any marquee theme. I'm like looking through some of the workshops that like we went to, and like I don't know, even in the keynote, the kinds of things that they were announcing was like, we're updating how we're managing inventory, or we're updating how you can subscribe to webhooks. All these, like, great. I'm glad you're doing that. These are all really helpful, but like nothing that is, I felt, as game changing as checkout extensibility or some of the advancements in AI. And so I was a little disappointed. Again, maybe it was just a product marketing missed opportunity, because I know there were a lot of announcements. Like I said, UCP was something that we talked a lot about, but even still, I think that like UCP is something that is not necessarily driving yet a lot of volume. They talked about growth, but it's not like it's asymptotic to the moon growth where they were like, it's up 80% year on year. It's like, okay, like that's still modest growth for something that's so early. So I'm interested to see what the rest of the year has and unfolds. And I think that obviously Shopify is doing a lot, but there were just no sort of like marquee innovations or announcements or features and stories that was really the centerpiece of this year's conference. So that was my hot take.
I'm wondering, is there an element of like we're getting all collectively more mature about the AI hype, and kind of like we're just getting kind of like spoiled in terms of like expecting too much?
Maybe we're getting spoiled and expecting too much. Yeah. Maybe it's my expectations just go higher and higher. But the thing is their parties get better and better every year.
How about agentic commerce? That was definitely a track and one of the things that they tried to highlight.
What was agentic commerce? Yeah, I think again, I just don't think that the traction is there. And when I would talk to people about agentic commerce, they had a few people who are on the like core UCP team and really trying to promote that. I think that there's been a number of frustrations around sort of the partnership between, there's sort of UCP, the open source protocol, and then there's sort of the Shopify maintained version, and so which is a fork from the open source one. And so that sort of divergence has created some friction and riff in the community. So I think that like it's not as off to the races as one might hope and expect. What I wish there was, I think that there's a lot of really cool AI features that are being built into Shopify. Like I think SimGym, there was like, I didn't talk to anyone about SimGym this time, and that could have been a cool opportunity. There was some stuff about Sidekick, but not as much. So I was hoping that they would talk about, so like ShopQL, which is like an amazing way to query all their data, does not have an MCP layer. And I was hoping that maybe they would get into like how we can more agentically query that. And so right now, actually, like what we have, and you can use Intelligems MCP to query the ShopQL. So if you want that and you're an Intelligems customer, you can do it through our MCP, but surprisingly not through Shopify's. So anyway, I think that there's I was hoping for more, especially on the agentic and AI side.
Right.
Maybe I'm spoiled.
One interesting element of like being here again, this was my first time being at this conference, is that there is a very aggressive like component of like feedback loops, and then some kind of like exceptions there, because like Shopify is hearing from their partners, but tech partners are at the same time hearing from theirs. Like for example, we hosted an Intelligems Lounge yesterday where we had over partners showing up. You and I and the rest of the team were talking to them, hearing their feedback. It's a very interesting exercise of like building the right things. How do you approach that? How do you get to build the best possible product using this feedback?
Oh man. First of all, I'm so glad we hosted, and I think Carlos, you had a huge role in helping organize that event yesterday, and a big part of why you came all the way from Colombia to Canada. It's not a short trip for you. That event was amazing. I think that for us to be able to ride on the coattails of the Shopify conference, and a lot of people are coming to Toronto for the Shopify conference, but then us being able to have our own event where a lot of these tech partners, a lot of these agency partners then come to ours as well, was just a tremendous opportunity. So I was Really grateful that we hosted that. I thought it was an amazing idea, and it was great that we had all those people there. I actually did my founder newsletter, which I write every other week, or gets published every other week, and me and Drew alternate.
Where can people find it?
I think it's on our website, and we can link to it, or I'll send you a link. But you could also subscribe, and we send it every Saturday morning or every other Saturday morning. And my last newsletter was about customer feedback and listening. And I just think it's so important. And it was something that I've been thinking a lot about and spent a lot of time with our customers, with our agency partners. And it's just like I left yesterday's event with our agency partners just so impressed with how our agency partners are using us, like so grateful for the love and appreciation that they show for us. It was really cool to get to meet them and hear all of the things that they're doing, and ways that they're using us. It was just like so impressive. I had no clue at the level of sophistication and that people are doing, whether it's like using our MCP. Amazing. Thank you for finding that link. Using our MCP, building their own dashboards, coming up with really sophisticated ways of thinking about CRO and experimentation. So that was awesome. And then they obviously, as much as they are tied to Intelligems, and like, yeah, I recommend everyone to use Intelligems, and I'm sure there's some bias because they're coming to our event, but I loved to, obviously that's rewarding and fulfilling, but then they also are exposed to other people's software and other tools out there, and they'll be like, hey, I think this could be better from Intelligems, or hey, I wish you could do that. And so those are the kind of things where it's like, okay, you are so deep and so sophisticated with how you're using these products and what you need to do. And so if you're telling me that this is a big gap or a big opportunity, that is a really helpful data point for us to be able to go close that. And I'm sure it's representative for a lot of other people. And so I got a lot of that yesterday. We had also our product and engineering team there yesterday talking to folks. So expect a lot of really cool things to come to in the product.
Yeah, I find that part particularly fascinating because, like, in most cases, there are other teams talking to customers, like customer success, marketing, and growth, and like many others. But you don't usually get to talk to the people who were actually building the product, like at that moment. So there's some magic in that, and I found that to be a very interesting exercise, and I really enjoy seeing our partners like really going deeper into very specific aspects of their feedback with you and the rest of the engineering and product team.
Totally.
Adam, one thing that I think was interesting about it, like just talking to so many people over the last couple of days, is the fact that, I mean, obviously there are a lot of companies and a lot of brand and operators that are very like well aware about the importance of testing, and they are I would say concerned just about getting better growth experimentation. But at the same time, there's an entire world of brands that are not testing at the moment. And you don't get to hear from them, of course, because that's like kind of like the bigger pool of brands that are maybe just vibe coding and shipping features like crazy these days, but not actually measuring the impact of their changes and treatments. How do you get to build a product that people might not know they need as of now? You know, there's no customer feedback loops with that audience, if you will.
I don't know that I've cracked that. I do talk to a lot of people who are not yet Intelligems customers, and they're thinking about being an Intelligems customer. But by the point I talk to them, they're usually already considering a tool. And so in their frame of marketing, there's this concept of like problem unaware, problem aware, solution aware. So it's like, I don't even know that this is a problem I should go solve. I know that this is a problem I should solve, but I don't know what the solutions are. And now I'm aware of like Intelligems and the solution. And now I'm making a like buying decision, and like, does this have the right features that I need, and et cetera. So then there's like different parts of the marketing and education journey. And so I think what you're describing are the people who are problem unaware. And I think that I actually don't know if I have a smart way of reaching those folks. A lot of the people I talk to are either problem aware or even solution aware, and they're trying to understand, like, is Intelligems the right solution for them, and like get into the nitty gritty, or they're Intelligems customers and they're trying to like get more out of it. And so I think that for me, one thing that has been really interesting and important from day one, as we think about, like, if I think about like sort of reflecting on the arc of Intelligems and how we started, where we started the company was A/B test your prices, and nobody was doing that at the time. And so there was an element of like, do you like education for people of like, hey, how do you approach your pricing? Do you think your pricing is optimal? And getting people to realize like, hey, I'm not actually that sophisticated or data driven about my pricing model. And maybe that's an area that could drive revenue and profit for my company, is like a better product pricing. And so there was a lot of that education early on. I think that like part of this category creation and like genre for us has been just like, hey, let's do these kinds of webinars, let's do podcasts, let's put out blogs, let's just try and educate people that this is something that's worth doing. Where that's then evolved to is not just like I can optimize my prices to get more revenue and profit, but also the entire website is a surface that I want to be able to maximize the profit from every eyeball that lands on that website. So I'm driving visitors to that website. There's a lot of people who spend a lot of money on marketing, and so they have a very acute problem of like, hey, I'm spending thousands or millions of dollars a month on marketing, and I want to make sure I'm getting a return from that investment. And so there's a lot of tools out there for that. But then it's like, I'm sending all these eyeballs, hundreds of thousands, millions of eyeballs to my website every month. How do I make sure that I'm getting the value out of those? And that's where Intelligems comes in. And I think just sort of trying to convey that message, and also convey that it used to be that you needed to understand data. It used to be that you needed to have a developer. It used to be that you needed a designer on your team to be able to do all of these things, or you had to hire an agency that brought an analyst and a designer and a developer. And I think that that's changing too. Like, AI is able to do a lot of the functions that otherwise you needed people to spend a lot of time on, and you need a lot of expertise either in your team or that you outsource. And so I think that people are getting more and more aware of the opportunity to maximize profit from every visitor that lands on your website. I think that the tooling is making it easier and easier, and AI is lowering the bar and entry. So I'm really excited to see how this goes, and hopefully doing stuff like this with you and all of these webinars help evangelize the opportunity ahead.
Yeah, a take of mine on that is that the Shopify rollouts feature is helping with that. That's something
interesting.
Like more than 5 times with me within the last couple of days, which is what does it like mean for Intelligems for Shopify to have launched the rollouts feature? And to me, that only helps. It just makes these conversations so much easier because they are just validating the importance of this.
It's making more people problem aware. They go from problem unaware to problem aware, and they understand, oh, what is the problem that rollouts is solving, that maybe I could be getting more value out of everyone that lands on my website. Well, before I install this app and use this solution, let me go like explore what the other solutions are in the space here too. And that's when they find us. So yeah, it's kind of a lot of people think of rollouts as being competitive or maybe not good for Intelligems. But I think that your take, which is probably the same as mine, is that it's actually a tailwind for us and helps us a lot.
Absolutely. Adam, time's up.
Carlos,
we're opinionated about
super fun.
keeping this under 30 minutes. So we'll definitely have you another time, maybe for the next event. It was
We'd
so
love
fun
it.
hanging out, and thanks for making the trip and to being in the forefront of just making the best possible product for our customers.
Yeah, thanks, Carlos, and safe trip back to Colombia.
Thank you. And thanks everyone who joined us today. We'll see you guys next week at 11 a.m. Eastern Time.